So I have a question. Have you ever been told that you are too much? That you are too intense or too sensitive, too loud, too ambitious, too emotional, too something? And hearing that, have you then quieted yourself or dimmed your light or tried to be less than whatever the two was so that others can feel more comfortable? You are not alone. I personally can speak to that, but we're going to get into that. But let's just take a pause for a minute. Hi and welcome. I'm Leezá Steindorf. I'm an award-winning author and international speaker, executive coach for the Forbes Coaches Council, and the creator of the Core Success System. And what we do is we use clarity, ownership, resolution, excellence, that's the core, so that you can lead a life that's really satisfying, it's aligned and empowered, and it's yours. So if this message sounds like something for you that speaks to you, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. And share it with someone else who has been told or they feel that they're too much. All right, let's get into this now. So we're going to start with clarity. And the first thing I want you to know is that too much is not a truth. It's a reflection. So the idea that you are too much is a perspective of somebody else, right? A fact is, for example, it's 70 degrees outside, or the light is on, or my dress is white, right? Those are facts, some things that we can establish with measured, agreed upon measurements. But for somebody to say that you are too much, that's not a fact, that's their perspective. It's nothing more than that. It's valid, but it's not a fact about who you are unless you want to believe it to be that, right? It's a reflection of someone else's discomfort with your power or with your presence. I had a friend who used to say that I laugh too loud in the movies. I don't go to the movies with her anymore because if I'm going to go to a comedy, I'm going to laugh. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So your truth is who you were born as, and you get to own that sense of worthiness. And if people are challenged with that, it's coming from their place of feeling unworthy, and that you are somehow presenting something they don't feel comfortable with. So it's important that you understand, first of all, that somebody else's perspective of you is not a truth. So if you imagine, for example, helping someone who can't walk well, either a child or an adult with a challenge, you wouldn't show off that you can walk and run and they can't. You wouldn't make them feel less than because you're able to do something and they're not. Well, it's the same thing. If somebody's making you wrong for being how you are, for your bigness, let's say, your brightness, your boldness, whatever the two is, that's somebody making you wrong, right? And that's not okay. You are valid and beautiful just the way you are. But to know that that's them making you wrong, that's not yours. You don't have to deal with that. That's them. But we're going to get into ownership in a minute. So clarity begins when you recognize that those judgments of other people about you do not belong to you. Okay? They were handed to you, maybe by family or the culture or school or religion or books or friends, whatever. But there's been layers of conditioning that you've had for years so that you'll shrink into some kind of a mold or to be just this way so that other people can feel okay. And you don't have to do that. So you can frame that feeling of being too much or really reframe anything, but let's just start with this. You can reframe that feeling by switching how you're looking at it. So, for example, you were never too loud, you're passionate, and you're not too intense, you're tuned, and you're not too emotional, you're expressive, right? So you can take that same lens that they may be using it and look at it from this perspective, which feels better and really is more aligned with how you want to see yourself. So gaining clarity lets you separate who you are from what others say you are or what they've been taught to fear about you. Okay? So that's getting clear first of all about who you are. So let's talk about ownership, okay? And you are not here to make people feel comfortable. Let me share what ownership means to me and how I speak about it. In this regard, it's taking ownership of your traits, your characteristics, who you are, not just your gifts, but also of the fact that those gifts can challenge other people. The way you are in the world may be uncomfortable for other people. And that's okay. And this is really hard because the sense is that, well, wait, if they have a problem with me, I have to do something. No, you don't. And I think in our Western colonized world, we've come to the belief that if it's uncomfortable, we have to change it. We can sit with their discomfort, and so can they. You don't have to change something because they feel uncomfortable around you. All right. That doesn't mean you intentionally try and make people feel uncomfortable. But if you're being who you are from a good place, your highest and best, and we're going to talk about excellence in a minute, then everything else outside of that you may influence, but you have no control over, right? So ownership is recognizing what is yours and what is not yours. And you only have control over yourself. As I said, you do have influence around others, right? So be the best you can be and be kind. And everything beyond that is not yours to concern yourself with unless people ask or you feel called, right? So when you try to be less of yourself so that you're more acceptable to other people, what you're really doing is you're abandoning your own power. You're literally abandoning yourself. You're trading your authenticity for their approval. And that's a super high cost. It's not satisfying to you. And in the end, they're still not going to be satisfied because their dissatisfaction with you is coming from their wounds and their beliefs. So, owning your fullness means standing in the truth that you are the one who sets the tone for your life. You get to decide who you are and how you feel about yourself, not your critics, not your past, not any mistakes you may have made, and not the discomfort of other people. Okay? So, you are not too much or too anything. You're just maybe not for everyone, and that's okay. None of us are, right? And you don't need to be. So let's talk about resolution. And if you remember, the way that I speak about resolution is of alignment. It's bringing together seemingly conflicting or challenging aspects of ourselves or things that aren't quite flowing together into a functioning whole. Okay? So when somebody says you are too much or too intense or too anything, what actually is triggering inside of ourselves often is the fear of rejection. I don't want to be left out. I don't want to be unloved. I don't want someone to think poorly of me. So let's resolve that, okay? Because like everyone else on the planet, you were made to be here the way you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be made this way. And this may sound like a lot of thoughts and words. If you sit with them, if you listen to this and you really sit with it, what I'm hoping you realize is that you get to decide that you're enough. You get to decide that how you are is more than enough and is good as you are, that you belong just as you are. And that's really an internal decision. It's not based on what you accomplished, it's not based on what other people think of you. It's really a decision you make for yourself. So you must first resolve your belief within yourself that you are enough and you can eradicate any fear that you're not. So if you don't come to that place, that decision that you are enough, what you end up doing is you edit yourself constantly. You decide what can you say, what can't you say? Is this loud enough? Is this too loud? Is this too soft? Is it too intense? You're constantly monitoring. And then you literally dilute your own brilliance and water down your intelligence or your joy or whatever it is, thinking it's going to bring you connection with other people that then they'll feel comfortable with you. But I gotta tell you, connection actually requires that you be all of who you are so that other people can connect to that. Otherwise, it'll never feel like connection. You'll always feel lonely. And so, doing all those altering actions to please other people is really performance. It's a different kind of performance. So, resolution means that you are healing a wound of rejection, the belief that you're not okay the way you are. And the one that says you must earn love by being palatable. It's not true, right? It's not true that you're too heavy or your vision is too grand or your feelings are too raw. Who you are and how you are is perfect. You don't need to be less and you don't need to be more. You need to just be as you are. You deserve to be loved just as you are. And you need to come to that clarity first. And then you bring that together with how you are in the world. All right, let's talk about excellence and the fact that your boldness is not a liability. So in the core model, excellence is not about perfection. It's not about that polished, perfect exterior. It's about integrity, which is integration. It means that you are living in alignment with your highest and best, from your highest and best into the world. And that includes your boldness, right? And boldness and bigness is not arrogance. It's not trying to be better than or dominate. It's really the courage to be visible, to let people see who you are, to take up the space that you take up. You can't be less than this, right? If you make a mold of me, I can't be less than what the mold is. I can't shrivel myself to be less than. This is the space that I occupy. Own that, right? And stop apologizing for that light of yours. So when you let your brilliance, your beauty, your quirkiness, whatever, be fully seen, you actually give other people permission to do the same because they're also walking on eggshells, actually. And you become then a mirror of possibility for them. So excellence is actually claiming your power, not in spite of an imagined too muchness, but because of your more than enoughness, right? It's stating, I get to be me because this is good so. And you get to be that too. That's excellence. Okay? So let's remember, this world does not need you to be less. It needs you to be real, whole, and fully expressed. So I'd like to give you a practice, okay? The next time that someone says or that you sense that you may be too much or too whatever you're told or you feel, just take a breath. And remember any part of what I'm going to say because we've spoken about this. You're not too loud, you're clear. And you're not too intense, you're present. And you're not too emotional, you're awake. And you are not too much, you are more than enough exactly the way you are. So if this message spoke to you or a part of you that's been hiding maybe, I invite you to like the video and subscribe for the channel and then share it with someone else who's also finished and done with dimming their light and making themselves smaller. So until next time, remember that clarity, ownership, resolution, excellence. You are not too much. You're exactly right just as you are.